Sometimes I'm not really sure how I want to start a video. I'm not sure if I want to do like a normal greeting, like, good morning, metalheads of the internet, my normal shtick, and welcome to a blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I'm not sure if I want to do like a joke or do some kind of skit with Thrashin' Jackson or Chompy or some other character that I've made up or some collaborator, get someone like, oh, look, it's Mad Mike, it's Gerrymander, oh, now we're going to do this thing. Like, sometimes I don't know, and a lot of the time I just kind of wing it. And today I really, really didn't know. And I think that that's because we're not really talking about a normal heavy metal, death metal record. We're talking about Servitude, the latest full-length studio album, the first in 4 years from the Black Dahlia Murder. It's their first album with Brian Eschbach on lead vocals, Ryan Knight on lead guitar. And it's also, most importantly, their first album without Trevor Strand on lead vocals. He unfortunately passed away, took his own life a couple of years ago, and it's horrible. He was young, and I mean, the Black Dahlia Murder was getting ready to do big things, and I don't know. It still that still doesn't even feel real to me, honestly. I mean, we had Trevor here on the Metal Meltdown a couple of years prior. I think it was like March. I want to say March, April of 2021. I remember it was like the first few months of COVID, and we just kind of shot the shit. We talked about like staying at home and playing video games. He talked about playing like Castlevania and shit like that. We talked about the new album at the time, Abysmal, and we talked about all the different themes that went into the album, the different songs. We talked about like Dungeons and Dragons and some other nerdy shit, and it was a really great conversation. And that was one of the first like interviews I did here on the Metal Meltdown with like a big name artist. We had only done one prior to that with Sasha Dunable from Intronaut. No disrespect to him, but I think Black Dahlia Murder, Trevor, a little bit bigger, a little bit more special. No disrespect, Sasha. Love you. Where's the new Intronaut album, by the way? Where is that? I'm getting really off topic. Holy shit. Anyways, I still really love that interview. I feel like I've done a lot of great interviews here on this channel, but that remains one of my favorites. And Trevor and I stayed in touch a little bit afterwards. He helped me get in contact with some like PR guys and like record label guys. And that kind of helped, along with the interview itself, to really kind of like boost the Metal Meltdown's momentum. That was kind of a pivotal moment in what I now often refer to as the golden age of the Metal Meltdown. No more dumb, edgy content. Now it's, well, I guess in a way still dumb, edgy content. I do some weird, stupid fucking shit on here sometimes. But I like to think I'm more mature. I like to think I'm more intelligent. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting off topic again. What I'm getting at is Trevor wasn't just a great singer. He was a great guy who genuinely cared about the metal scene, the health of the underground specifically, and he was always supporting new bands and always providing resources and information for people like myself, for channels like this. And it's still weird to wrap my head around the fact that he's not here. And the Black Dahlia Murder still is. And I imagine people are going to have mixed feelings on that as well, but I think I'm honestly okay with that. I think Trevor would have wanted the Black Dahlia Murder to still exist in some capacity. I won't pretend to speak for him, but that's just kind of what I'm feeling. This is obviously their new album. We're obviously going to talk about it. I never really settled on what I wanted to do for like an intro, a greeting, or whatever. But I did remember that in the interview and in some conversations after, we talked about maybe hanging out when Trevor came to Toronto on tour with the Black Dahlia Murder. At the time, they were scheduled to do a tour with, I think it was Municipal Waste and Testament. And that ended up falling through for obvious COVID-related reasons. But we talked about hanging out and grabbing a drink, and I could never do that, unfortunately. So the best I can do now, I guess, is dedicate this video to Trevor and to the Black Dahlia Murder and share a drink with y'all today. So, yeah. Cheers. Love you, Trevor. Rest in peace. I hope wherever you are, you have found peace. Voila! I'm sorry to have officially started this video, this album review, on kind of a bummer note, but I feel that it's important to kind of remember this when talking about Servitude. It's important to remember what happened and who Trevor was in the context of Servitude, because this is their first album without Trevor. And Trevor was more or less the face and the voice and the poster boy for the Black Dahlia Murder and for, you know, modern death metal as a whole. I mean, if you're my age, then there's a very good chance you were introduced to a lot of death metal through the Black Dahlia Murder in the early 2010s through records like Ritual and Everblack. I mean, I remember when Everblack specifically came out because I remember they supported that album on tour with Carcass and Gorguts, and I mean, that's still maybe one of the best fucking shows I've ever been to. And with that in mind, let's address the elephant in the room. Brian Eschbach is not Trevor, but he's doing a damn good job. Like, pretty much as good as anyone could want or expect from anybody daring to even try to fill Trevor's shoes. It's clear that Brian has learned a lot about Trevor and his vocal style. It's clear that, you know, he knows what Trevor would do on songs like these, and he knows the direction that he would want the Black Dahlia Murder to take on an album like this, and he does a really good job at kind of matching his energy and going into similar vocal territory and kind of matching those tones without sounding like he's imitating him, without sounding like he's fully copying him. I mean, he is, you know, borrowing that style, but I do feel like he has a sharper, more nasally, more dry tone to at times. His voice is a little louder. It's not as animated, I would say, as Trevor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it's more so that, like, you know, he's still kind of figuring this out. He's only been doing lead vocals for a couple of years now. This is his first album as a lead singer. He's been doing, like, guitar stuff primarily ever since the Black Dahlia Murder formed. For a first effort, filling in for Trevor, a solid job across the board. I think Ryan Knight does a great job with Brian Eschbach, stepping up on guitars. The two of them are a real dynamic duo, like Batman and Robin shit. They are doing wonders on this thing. Some big scorching solos, some darker kind of Gothenburgian style melodeath progressions and riffs and harmonies, soaring sections and old school crushing American death metal brutality. It's a combination, a smorgasbord, if you will, of death metal styles and riffs and influences, seasoned and cooked pretty damn fucking well. Now, as far as the songwriting and songcraft is concerned, there is an argument to be made, and in fact, I will make it right now, that Servitude plays things a little bit safe. To an extent, this isn't really shocking, at least not in my opinion. For one, the Black Dahlia Murder have never been well known for writing the most super ambitious, progressive, over-the-top stuff. They're not the type to go off and write a fucking rock opera or a concept album. They're not the type to drastically switch things up every couple of years or so. They occupy a territory similar to that, I would say, of Cannibal Corpse and Aborted, where it's not so much that they write the same album over and over again. It's more so that they write the same type of album over and over again with varying differences between albums in production and different dynamics and pyrotechnics employed and used and such. And to be extra fair, it makes extra sense to play things safe on Servitude because, you know, the decision to continue without Trevor has not been met with universal praise and acclaim. Now, granted, they were always going to be in trouble. Replacing a singer, especially one like Trevor, is not easy. Don't believe me? Ask Linkin Park how they're doing right now. They're experiencing this exact phenomenon, but on a much larger and crazier scale. It's never easy. It's never smooth. It always sucks. There's always pushback. There's always division. There's always controversy. So with that in mind, it makes extra sense that the Black Dahlia Murder wouldn't go into extra funky, wild, and fresh territory, because they need to prove to their audience that despite everything, they are still the Black Dahlia Murder. Now, unfortunately, this results, in my opinion, a less thrilling album than most of what we've gotten from the Black Dahlia Murder, especially in the 2010s. But, again, I understand the logic. It was probably the decision that I would have made if I were working behind the scenes with Black Dahlia Murder on this album, if I were in Brian's shoes. And I do think overall, it's a pretty solid record. It's the Black Dahlia Murder doing what they do, doing it pretty damn well, filled with excitement and passion, and I would say an appropriate amount of misery. I mean, this is by no means a sad record, but you can tell that they're thinking of Trevor and that this is very important to them, and that shows pretty consistently. Guys, I just got ding-dong ditched in the middle of a fucking Metal Meltdown video. That's fucking crazy. I didn't know kids still did that. That's awesome. That's great. I'm not even mad. I just find that funny. Where was I? Fuck, I don't remember. If you are somebody who simply cannot picture the Black Dahlia Murder without Trevor, I mean, I think it's a little silly personally, but, I mean, who am I to tell you what to think and what to feel? That's your decision. That's your prerogative, whatever. Perhaps this album wouldn't change your mind. I don't know. I'd like to think it could, because it's not, like, fundamentally different. It's not, like, drastically different. It's not like a soulless or a heartless record, quite the opposite. The worst thing I can say about it is that it's just kind of safe, and that as a result of that, it's not as thrilling as previous records, you know? Like, it doesn't wow me in the same way that Verminous, Abysmal, Nightbringers might have, you know? But again, that's fine. This album doesn't need to be the album of the year. It doesn't need to be the death metal album of the year. It doesn't need to be the biggest, boldest, craziest thing the Black Dahlia Murder have ever made. It just needs to be a new Black Dahlia Murder album. That's it. It needs to prove to the world that the Black Dahlia Murder are still the Black Dahlia Murder, and I believe they've proven exactly that. As far as an actual score is concerned, I think I'd go 3.5 out of 5. I can see that this maybe isn't something I'm going to return to super often, but it is something I did enjoy while it was on. I think I'd be game to pick it up on vinyl. I would not object to hearing these songs live. It's a good, fun, solid record. Maybe not the mind-blowing spectacle that some fans would want, but nevertheless, a really good record. Like, if you're looking for this to rival or surpass anything else in the Black Dahlia Murder discography, you're definitely going to be disappointed. But if you're just looking for a good, solid death metal record and you want to pay tribute to Trevor and, you know, see where the Black Dahlia Murder is right now, then this is definitely worth your time and potentially worth your money. Cheers to the Black Dahlia Murder. Raise your glasses to the screen if you have them once again, and let's have a drink for Trevor. I miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for everything you've done for the Metal Meltdown, for the death metal scene. Thank you to the Black Dahlia Murder. Looking forward to seeing what you do next. Feel free to send me some fucking free tickets to that Dying Fetus show in Toronto. Black Dahlia Murder, Dying Fetus. I'll be there front row if you do that. If you don't, I won't. I'll go do something else. Yeah. That's it, I guess. I have to actually have the drink. There's no point toasting if you don't actually drink. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, it's fucking delicious. All right. Yeah, this was a video. This was a... Yeah. While I'm over here, I should probably take something out for dinner. What do I want? Do I want to make some meatloaf? I got ground beef. Do I want fish and chips? I've got haddock. I got some chicken thighs. I can make some curry. I got some pork tenderloin to use up. I can make a stew. I got stock. Yo, I still have foie gras? That's crazy. I still have foie gras. I'm not even fucking joking. Yeah. Foie gras. Oh, fuck it. I'll just cook a shitload of foie gras. What the fuck? Why not, eh? Spend the night drinking whiskey, eating foie gras, listening to the Black Dahlia Murder? That sounds like a fucking excellent night in my opinion. I don't fucking know, man. That sounds pretty good. That's what I'm doing. I've decided. All right.